Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Fran, Arsenal artist and also Arsenal fan and enjoyer of chatting anything and everything football. And as you guys may know, probably know, definitely know, because my life is empty. It's international break. Feels like the longest week ever, but this one's been okay. You know, the weather in England's been quite sunny. I don't know, what have you guys been up to kind of entertain yourself in international break? I've just been watching the Arsenal women's team. Amazing comeback goals from Beth McCabe and Alessia Russo. So they're winning 2-1 now against Aston Villa. Come on. What else? Just been trying to watch as many podcasts and things kind of summarising Arsenal season so far. But before we get into it all, obviously today we're going to talk about top 5 talking points, just the kind of the like debatable, like controversial, like argumentative points that have come up so far in the season. We're going to get into all of those things and also talk a little bit about Manchester United and just kind of generally hang out on this Sunday afternoon, try and fill the football void. Just a week to go. We're going to build up to some of the new fixtures, talk about the main things, talk about a bit of news, just get your Arsenal fix for today, because I certainly need it. And so we're going to talk about all of it. So let's just say hello to you. So Lottie's here saying, cool thumbnail, good luck sis. Arsenal got to be having a better week than United. Yeah, trust me. United, you guys are in the gutter. Phil saying, hello, Fran. I did watch an amazing live pod the other day, yours. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Guna Matters saying, hey, Fran, watching the Women's Super League Arsenal v Aston Villa. Yeah, I've just been watching that. It's been great. But it's the best time now, which is PowerPoint time. So, add to stage. It's Arsenal Talking Points. That's the name of the pod today. Thank you very much for joining me. Remember to hit the likes. As I said, I'm Fran. This is Golartzo. I do art and I talk about football way too much. So let's get into it. News bites. So first of all, I wanted to give a couple of congratulations for a few of our players. Well done, Eddie, for his first appearance for England, I believe. He still could, I think, Ghana are still trying to poach him off the England team, but credit to him. He has dreamed of playing for England. He's been super humble about it, saying how grateful he is, how much he wants to learn from the other players around him. And if he's played in a friendly, it doesn't mean he's committed to England yet. But if he plays on this qualifier match, I think we've got coming up, then I think he is, or something like that. Or is it a qualifier match, or it might be a League of Nations thing? I don't know. But anyway, well done, Eddie. Congratulations. Nice to see another Arsenal homegrown player in the England squad. And another one, well done, Gabriel Magalhaes. Completely underrated player in our squad, but I think he's starting to get the recognition he deserves. The wingman of William Saliba, part of the dynamic duo. One of the best defenders in the Premier League, in my opinion. And he scored his first goal. I think it was a corner from Neymar and he headed it in. I can't quite remember. But congratulations. Like, we know the Brazil boys, it means everything to them, their national squad. And the fact he's a starting player now, after he was left out of the World Cup, I think. I'm so pleased for him. So well done, Gabriel. And just to put any rumours to bed, Partey is fine, apparently. He came off after 40 or 45 minutes playing for Ghana, but the Arsenal physio is out there with him, and apparently it was a pre-agreed thing because he's being really closely managed out there, and it was just pre-agreed so they don't put too many minutes on his legs. The Arsenal physio have gone, no, you can only play him for this long, so he's fine. It's just managing his minutes. So it's all good, all good. Arsenal Manic, hello as well. Haven't watched a single minute of the interlude games, but congrats, Eddie. Yeah, congrats, Eddie. I watched a little bit of England-Australia. It was so boring. But there's rugby later on today. I think England are in the quarterfinals against Fiji, I think, at 4:00. So, that's now. Oh, damn. PowerPoint time. You guys love PowerPoint time. So, first of all, the main... Oh, no, actually, one more news bite. So, I don't know if you guys saw, but after the Australia game, just a news bite, Jack Grealish is a really nice person. He's arguably, nice but dim, but very good footballer. But news bite, Jack Grealish is a really nice person. So, Martin Boyle, I think he plays in Scotland, came up after our friendly against Australia and asked Jack Grealish if he could have his shirt. I think whether he could sign it, I guess, as well. And Jack Grealish, in response, obviously asked Martin Boyle for his shirt back, and everyone just loves that from Jack Grealish. He's such a nice guy, and Martin Boyle was apparently like really shocked that Grealish wanted his shirt back, so it's really nice. News by Jack Grealish is nice. Right away. So first point, talking point. Let's just take stock of where we are this season. We're, how many games in? 8 Premier League games in. It's the second international break already. I can't believe it. There are so many of them. So I thought we'd have a minute to take stock, work out how the season is going so far compared to last season. Are we meeting our expectations? Are we looking good? Are we looking bad? All of the above. Lottie just trolling us all, saying Arteta out. She's a Manchester United fan. The Glazers are staying. You're screwed. That's all I have to say about that. Am I going to do a Q&A question at the end? So I'll star that for you, Phil. And Tayyip, hello. Oh my gosh, Jez, celebrity in the chat. Thank you for coming in and saying hello. I thought we'd just hang out this Sunday afternoon, talk about what's happening so far, what we like, what we don't like, what we expect. So how are we actually doing so far? As you can see, we're currently joint first, but Tottenham seem to think they've won the league already because they're a point in front of us in terms of goal difference, and they're just being way too noisy. And if any Tottenham fans are in the chat or watching, then you need to calm down, because I think they'll be a little bit like we were last season, where way overachieving and then just don't really have the depth of squad to finish it by the end. So enough chat about Tottenham winning the league. They're not there yet. New manager bounce and all that. Sit down. Very irritating little team. Arsenal obviously joined second, which I think if you'd have asked me at the beginning of the season, what 8 games in you'll be, joint top of the league, I would have taken it, of course. We couldn't ask to be in a much better position, except if Tottenham didn't exist. And I think with the performances we saw at the beginning of the league, I might not necessarily have expected it. I was going into mini meltdown mode with some of our results. So obviously, and the Kai Havertz signing had made me think, are we actually going to push on this season and do better than last season? Because I don't think any of us can forget where we come into this season. And that's off the back of being the team to have sat at the top of the Premier League for the longest ever time without winning it. And so for me, it's just inexcusable that we can do worse than last season. So for me, the expectations were really high. And I think seeing the first few games, it looked like we were still kind of working it out, whether Havertz going to fit in and stuff. And we're going to talk about Kai Havertz. He's one of the talking points. Don't worry. Lottie says he's not going anywhere, Phil, after he said Lottie out. So anyway, we're coming into it. It's actually a really high stakes season, and we weren't looking too good at the beginning, and arguably we're still not. There's still things to sort out, but we're top of the league, which you can't really argue about. And we've beaten Man City. We've beaten Everton away. So despite it not being as pretty on the eye, you can say that we're actually doing really well. So how are we actually doing so far? So here you can see our results in both the cups and our matches. So we had first of all, we started by winning the Community Shield. Yes, lads. 1-1 draw against Manchester City, and all the players were saying that it was a huge psychological boost for them, and maybe that was in part why we were able to have the confidence to go and beat them in our last match. But anyway, then 2-1 win against Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace 1-0 win away, which was good. After we drew 2-2 to Fulham, and they had a red card, which was a really disappointing performance, because I think we had won back the lead after going a goal down, and then they managed to equalise with 10 men, and I was not happy there. And then luckily we beat Manchester United, although Manchester United are just kind of a mess anyway, so I'm not sure if that's too much of an achievement. Then we managed to break the Goodison curse, win 1-0 away at Everton. I think Trossard scored the winner, if I remember rightly. And we're going to talk about Trossard. He's another talking point, because I don't think he's getting enough minutes. And then 2-2 draw against Tottenham, my first ever in-person home match. I was really frustrated after that and disappointed, and the Tottenham fans were giving it the big one, and they still are, and it was really annoying, and Jorginho pissed me off, if you'll excuse my language. Sorry if my grandma's watching. Then Brentford, we beat Brentford, hurrah. Bournemouth, we beat them 4-0. And then we lost midweek in Europe just before playing Man City, which was actually very concerning because we obviously want to do as well as we can in the Champions League, and it was a real complacent performance. And I think, and also because Saka got injured, it was very, very bad. Their crowd turned up massive, and I was talking about how we need to be careful about Lons, and in the end they beat us, and it was just like a head-banging moment. But now, after the 1-0 Manchester City win, I'm feeling a bit more positive. I don't know about you guys, and I've kind of sort of managed to make sense of the start of the season, in my head at least. So you'll have to let me know what you think, but I'll kind of give you my theories. So Tony Claude's in the chat, my guy. Big up, great job to you too. I love our little like gang of like Arsenal content creators, like all chilling on each other's channels. So Phil said, I'm sure I've already said this, but we've tweaked our free-flowing style from last season to a more slow-paced, mature game management style that hopefully will get us closer to the title. You're very right. And I think what we thought was perhaps things not looking as good or as together was just in fact a tweak of the style. So we're going to get into kind of the overall way I think that Arteta's leveled up and adapted the game plan to be able to deal with more different kinds of teams, be more adaptive, more of a squad game. Basically, I think the plan is not to wing it so much, basically, with like one squad of really electric, dynamic players, and in fact to be able to use the whole squad, be really solid defensively, and trust that we've got the attacking talent, which we've seen last season, but just shore it up more at the back defensively. Lottie's saying I might give up on United. To be fair, there's no hope. Arsenal, here I come. You're an Arsenal fan, really. You know you are. Lottie's come to Gooners vs Cancer events with me, and she's come to the Emirates, and she still insisted on supporting United because the guy she's interested in supports United. But I think you do actually like them as well. But you're an Arsenal fan, really. Anyway, so that's where we are so far. Upcoming fixtures until the next international break. There's another one like early November. It's insane. But I mean, I'm happy for the players that are getting a chance to rest this international break. Trossard's getting a rest. Saka's getting a rest. Martinelli, I think, is home. Who else is it? Who's the other big one? Oh, Saliba. So in a way, it's quite nice for the players that are not going away to like calm, take stock, and train with Arteta. But for the players that are going away all over the world in this week, like Thomas Partey's, I think he's somewhere really far away. It might be America on Wednesday, and then he's supposed to play on Saturday. It's like a lot for those guys. But anyway, international break. It is what it is. And on the slideshow, you can see the fixtures until our next international break. So we come back playing away at Stamford Bridge by the looks of it against Chelsea, which we'll do a proper review about later on in the week. I mean, preview. That won't be as easy as we think, unfortunately. I wish we played them a few weeks ago because they seem to have kind of got it together a little bit. But we should beat them. I need to know what you guys think. So from these next few games, how many points are we like expecting? So in the Premier League, we've got Chelsea, Sheffield, Newcastle, and Burnley. So we've got those four. I expect 12. I expect 12 points. If we're going to go on and win the league, you've got to be winning, especially games like Sheffield United and Burnley. We've got to get 6 points out of them. And Newcastle have shown themselves to be defensively, but we're away at Newcastle, which is a tough one, to be fair. So, okay, if we get maybe a draw at Newcastle and beat Chelsea, that would be okay. But I'm aiming for 12 points. We need to be the best if we want to win the league. We need to beat Newcastle, beat Chelsea, show that we're better than them. What's all this, we're going to go to them and, I'll be happy with the draw. No, we need to win. So they should be afraid of us, not us be afraid of them. Especially if we've tweaked so that we're more solid and mature and composed than last season. It's not so much for smash and grab. It won't be so chaotic. Hopefully we'll be able to control these games, be it by our defensive press or through all-out attacking style against the lower teams. hopefully we can model that performance we did with City a bit more at these tough away games like Newcastle, for example. Play that like more defensive block and hit them a bit more in transition. That's hopefully what we're going to see. I don't want us to just go to Newcastle and step back on all that good progress from Man City, just all out attacking again. 11 likes already. Thank you so much, guys. The target is 45. So we managed to do it last time. Let's see if we can do it this time. Last stream went really well for some reason. You guys who were here saw that I had a nightmare with the PowerPoint, and like it was just it was a chaotic stream for my standards. But for some reason, like YouTube was suggesting it to people. It got 1,000 views, which was amazing. My first video with over 1K. So that was awesome. Maybe I'm doing everything wrong because that was a bad whatever. No one cares. So Tony Claude saying, Fran, yes, a big relief for those players getting a rest. Absolutely, absolutely. If you haven't subscribed to Tony Claude Gooners TV, he's so nice, so knowledgeable. Make sure that you do. Arsenal Manic saying, Gareth Southgate has made international football unbearable, or maybe it's just me. Yeah, I find it extremely boring. Can't put myself through 90 minutes. We're playing Australia a friendly, and I had it on kind of semi-watching it, and it was a close 1-0 win. Barely any chances for England. Australia, in fact, had way more clear-cut chances. It's just the most negative style of football. And if Gareth really put his mind to it, this could be one of the best England teams we've ever seen. The quality of players that we have in that England team, it's just so frustrating for me that we're not playing a more attacking style and just dominating teams. I don't know why we're being so cautious and going there and basically trying not to lose, hopefully get a 1-0 win. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Lottie said, I just kind of enjoy watching Man U crash and burn. I do back Arsenal too, though, I'm on the fence. It's okay, you can have a second team. Arsenal can be your second team. Static in the building, so good to see you. I hope you're not dying of boredom in this international break. Hey, jumping in, says Gooner Gathering after watching the late comeback. Yes, I saw a bit of the late comeback in the Women's Super League. Fantastic, so good. And it's so nice to see like more and more people arriving every time. If I lived in London, I'd be there every time. Definitely, like it's still Arsenal and the women's game, and they're fighting so hard for the game to be equal. And we're making such huge steps. Like there's women's players now in EAFA or whatever it is, FIFA 2.0. Obviously now they're in the Emirates. I believe last season they were not playing in the Emirates, and just huge strides for women's football. And the main thing is getting the same respect. I especially see in YouTube comments still such like derogatory like statements about women footballers. It's not good enough. Anthony here as well. Last season, Arsenal was second with 28 points at the end of October. Okay, and so this season, end of October, we are 20 points. Oh, no, we're not quite at the end of October. So anyway, I hope for 12 points from these next 12 games. For me, that's only what's acceptable, really. We've got to have the champions mentality. If we're going to go for the Prem and the Champions League, we should be beating these teams. So I'm going to give it a pause on the comments for a little bit because I need to get on to the next slide. You guys always distract me. So 5 minutes of next slide, then I'll go back to your comments. But hello, Taylor, in the chat as well. So nice to see so many of you. So a little bit about what Phil touched on, which is kind of questions at the beginning of the season, especially from me, saying, why do we look worse than last season? Because last season we're so used to like the quick pace, like quick passes, attacking play. However, I think Arteta has recognised quite rightfully at the end of the season, especially without Saliba, just how sloppy our defence was. And what really crushed our title hopes last season was us like doing it to ourselves, obviously. Games, especially where we're 2 goals ahead. And then the other team, like Southampton, Liverpool, we were 2-0 up at Anfield and managed to just bottle the lead and just bottle. So I think this season Arteta's gone, okay, we know we can play attacking football. Last season we saw that, came super close. So I think he's been thinking, what's the next step to elevate us to actually win the title this time? And you're thinking, okay, well, why didn't we win it? And it was mainly due to defensive errors, rather than attacking. We were okay scoring goals. So I think he said, okay, the margin where we can improve is on our defensive solidity. So in a way, he's kind of done a full circle, because when we first got Arteta, it was all the focus was on solid defence, and we were struggling to get goals. But like any good manager comes in, first season, just try not to concede a ton of goals. We'll work on the attack later, but you start with the foundation of the defence. And then kind of a messy season, another like mid-season. And then it went last season to like all-out attack, basically. So now I think this season seems to be him establishing the balance of that really solid defence, but with the freedom as well for that fluidity in attack. And obviously it's like a really difficult thing to balance, you know, like how high up do you press without leaving yourself vulnerable to the counter. And I think what we've seen in these first 8 or so games is just him experimenting with a few different players in different positions. We had Partey at right back, which was a disaster. We don't talk about that. Havertz, what is he going to go? Is he going to start? Just trying to kind of work out the way that we could be most solid but still have that attacking threat, I think. Saying it's called EAFC or FC24 for short. I know it's confusing. There's too many letters. But big up Taylor. Hello everyone. So anyway, I'm hoping that, of course, more games will get to see that attacking style come through. But what it's basically showing is that some games we can just shut up shop and score when we need to, because we know we can score. We're a good goal scoring team, I think, in my opinion. At least we've seen last season and whatever. And then other games, yeah, just go more full out attacking. So it's basically that plan B that we were asking for last season, because every game we were mainly playing the same 11, the same full out attacking football. And this season, there's been more rotation and more different styles of play. Kind of all underlined with a more strong defence, I think. Although we were super sloppy at the start of the season at home. But I think that was just complacency, not that we're not actually very good at defending. Anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on the playing style. And I'm feeling quite hopeful in terms of going forwards that we can adapt to each game as it comes. And we have less of a drop-off, I think, from our first team to the bench players, with players like Fabio Vieira kind of stepping up, and Trossard seems to be a bench player now. ESR's on the bench. Nelson. We're going to talk about the bench players, though, because I don't think some of them are being treated very fairly. So let's go on to the next talking point. Oh, no. Okay, after this, we're going to talk about the bench players. But talking point number 2 is, how are our summer signings settling in? Did Arsenal buy the right players? Have we done enough to go from runners-up to winning the Premier League this year? That is the question. And I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts as we get into this. So, hello. But before that, I'll pause and read a few comments. So, Fran, Arsenal are defensively better, but offensively worse. I think that's just him finding the balance. Like, I don't know. You make a good point, to be fair. You do make a good point. But you could argue that offensively at the moment we're really struggling because we haven't had Partey, Martinelli. I think when we have Partey and Martinelli especially, and obviously Saka, but Partey's been a huge miss going forwards, I think, especially. So yeah, maybe we are still a bit too reliant on some players to be good going forwards. So you're right there. You're right there. I have just had my rice and peas and fish Sunday dinner. That's not Sunday dinner, fish. Blessings, Sunday, Fran. Yes, hit the like button. I hope you enjoyed your dinner. It definitely, ESR definitely hasn't been treated fairly this season. Gathering saying Arsenal's best striker. Phil, you're not Phil. I'm getting confused today. Sorry, Lee. No, you're not our best striker. Gabriel Jesus is our best striker, in my opinion. This is going to be just an opinion stream. Like, screw the news streams. I see so many streamers that I watch, and it's just like all neutral opinion, so as not to annoy anyone on either side. This is only an opinion stream. What I think right now. So, scoring goals does win you games. Defense win you league titles. You said it right there, Static. Great comment. So, put in your questions as well in the chat, because the talking point number 5, spoiler alert, is actually a Q&A. So it's like, you choose the talking point for number 5. But anyway, first of all, we're going to evaluate how we think the summer signings are settling in, starting with a certain Kai Havertz. So my view on him has kind of softened, okay? But let me just start with the fact, the sheer... Okay, this is my story with Kai Havertz. A biography. This guy just does my head in. Okay, so I'll bear in mind that I feel a bit kinder towards him. However, when the signing was announced, I thought, you must be joking. This must be some kind of sick prank. Is it April Fool's Day? Because his form against Chelsea, with Chelsea, has been so poor, obviously, for the last 3 years. But we've been through all of that. And I think now we're taking stock. I'm not going to lie, though. Although I do feel like there is a future there. There's a drone outside my window. Odd. Sorry. Okay, so while I feel there is a future there, he definitely has not, and Arteta has noticed this, had the start that we would have expected or wanted. And the fact that he's getting less and less minutes, to me, shows that Arteta knows that, because players like Declan Rice are still starting every game, basically, which shows that basically they're doing what was expected of them when they were brought in, whereas Kai has been getting less and less minutes, only coming on as a substitute, which to me says that Arteta knows that, okay, he's not doing what we want him to do right now. And as I've been saying, like, incrementally, game per game, we're seeing, honestly, like a millimetre of improvement, but it's just way too slow, I think, way too slow. He ghosts around and just runs kind of slowly, and unless you're like properly focusing on him, you can't really see what he does. And even when you are properly focusing on him, he doesn't seem to be doing much. Having said that, though, so last night I actually tuned into a bit of the USA men's team. No, it wasn't the USA. So it was Germany. It was USA playing Germany, I think, in a friendly. And it looked like a different Kai Havertz, to be fair. Like, he still had the same running style, but I was watching him and I could kind of see, like, oh, okay, like, he does have potential. Maybe this is him looking a bit more confident. And he was asking for the ball at his feet. He was running towards, like, the person with the ball, like, offering himself up for passes. Whereas in Arsenal, it's kind of like he's hiding behind other players and doesn't, like, ask for the ball at his feet. I don't think he wants to make a mistake. And he was playing in the front three for Germany. Sorry, I think I said he was playing for USA. No, he's playing for Germany, and just his body language, his demeanour was like, okay, so he wasn't like out of this world, but he looked like he wasn't shying away and like hiding, and he looked like he was there and he belonged. He was a member of the team, and I don't think he's got that yet at Arsenal. And then that just leads me to think, why did you get a player that's so low on confidence that he's like a project player? I'm all for building players up. And in fact, Arteta's record with seeing something in players that we don't has been really good. So Ramsdale, we all thought, what are you doing? Odegaard, we thought he doesn't look up to par. It took him a while to get bedded in. Who else? We've had a few players like that where they've come in and we've just thought, like, this isn't going to be a success, and it has been. So I'm inclined to think it's going to be the same for Kai Havertz, but this is definitely the riskiest one because he's been in the poorest form. He's been the most controversial signing that Arteta has made, and it just makes me frustrated because there are players that are here and ready to go. And it's the 65 million price tag as well, because you could get Kai maybe at a lower price and then someone who's ready to go, like a Maddison. It just really annoys me, especially because he's at Spurs, that he's there and he's ready to go. So let's see what some of you guys are saying about Kai Havertz is settling into the club. But I do say that I am seeing changes. I saw a bit of what you can offer in the German national team, looking a bit more confident. He just needs to grow in confidence, but how long is it going to take? And I'm going to be really, really frustrated if he continues to take up the left 8 role as opposed to maybe being on the front line, because it's just not working him in that position. At least now, maybe grow him into confidence playing a bit higher up where he's more used to playing. But it's on Arteta. He brought the player in. He's got a plan for him. The plan doesn't seem to be working at the moment. So what are you going to do? Are you going to move him up front? Try a different position? And remember, he managed to get Xhaka playing into form after we all hated him. So hopefully he can do the same with Kai Havertz, but it's just a patience thing. It's always next year, next year, next year. I'm getting fed up of next year. You know, bit of a rant there. So let's see what a few of you guys are saying. Guys, the comments are going mad today. You all must be completely football starved. So thank you. If you are coming, remember to hit the like. The aim is 45 likes today. 8 games, he's done nothing. If after 15 matches it's still the same, then I'm sorry, we have to cut our losses. Oh, not cut our losses. So what you mean, like by the January transfer window? I just think if it is still the same, you bring in someone that can do what you wanted him to do. Maybe. I don't know. I just think we're stuck for it. I wouldn't say replace him. I think we're just stuck with it. Was it like the wisest transfer at this moment? It's looking like no. And I think by the end of the season, he will be looking much, much better. And people will be saying, I told you so. We just had to wait for this player. But will it be too late? Will Manchester City be flying away from us? Will we be second, third in the table, where we could have easily been like dominating? Perhaps. I say nothing. Crispy, hey, good to see you again. On a scale of 1 to 10, a 4 at best, the assist has given him some leniency. Yeah, I mean, it was such an underwhelming assist too. It was like such a slow little like roll. But, you know, that's good. I see him doing that more. And in the US men's national team, he's good at doing little passes in the final third, but we're just not really seeing it. And it's taking ages to get there. And, you know, as always, though, I have the disclaimer at the front of the stream saying if a player ever watched this, if Kai is watching this, we still like you and we want you to succeed. It's just opinion. Just saying, Gooner Gathering, how long do you have to give a player before truth is seen and reality shows Eddie is crap? Yeah, on the eye, it doesn't look too great. Yeah, we can talk about Eddie. My thing on Eddie is he's not good enough at the moment for Arsenal, and he seems to be getting a lot of chances to prove that he is. I think he's okay, but he's not exceptional. And I really respect the guy's attitude, and he's very humble, and he talks so well about the team, and he's just done a good interview for England. He's a really humble guy, but my problem is that I like players, and I'm not very good at objectively saying like, okay, you're a nice guy, but perhaps you're not the level we need for Arsenal. So with Eddie, it's a difficult one because I like him as a person, but as a striker, the final product isn't there. I want someone where we pass it, then they smack it in the back of the net every time, you know? Whereas Eddie, so often he just misses like sitters, and it's just really, really frustrating. And he's always offside as well. It's just the mistakes. He makes lots of mistakes. So Arsenal Manic saying, if he came from abroad and was pants after 8 games, we give the benefit of the doubt, but he's been in London playing for over 3 years now. Yeah, you're completely right. That is kind of the thing about it, that he has been in the Prem, and lots of people argue that maybe he's just like not cut out for the Prem and he should be in a more like slower technical league, and I can see that. That's the worrying thing. But Arteta seems to think not, and he's had a good track record of seeing things in players that we haven't been able to see, so maybe this is just another example of that. But it was such a crucial position for us because Xhaka started basically every game last season. And then if he's coming as a direct replacement for Granit Xhaka, you've brought in someone who is way less confident than Xhaka, extremely out of form. I don't know how he expected that to be an improvement. Do you know what I mean? If it's a direct replacement for Xhaka. But then maybe it's not because Partey was unfit. So now that Partey's back, we're going to have to see whether the plan was to have Kai Havertz there always, or whether hopefully it's a Reiss Partey pivot. But I think the whole thing is that the midfield will be rotated, which is good. But I don't know if he's good enough still. The chat's in trouble. Jez is in the room. Hello, mate. Gooner gathering is high. 15 likes, like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you, Static. Yes, only 30 more to go until we hit the aim. Taylor, hello, saying Kai Havertz is such a waste man on the pitch. It's not even a joke, but he's part of the team still. But yeah, I do see things though. Like I see tiny moments. So, you know, as you say, he's part of the team. If he does well, then Arsenal will do well. I really want him to do well. This will be awesome if it's like a massive comeback story. And I would love it for Arteta if he was proved right and Kai Havertz ends up being like class. How much of a like FU would that be to Chelsea fans? Like, look, you ruined him, but with us, he's come back to his best. That would just be awesome. I want that so badly. But in like a year and a half, it'll be long, you know? Havertz still hiding behind the referees. Arsenal Manic saying Eddie and Havertz is Arsenal playing with 9 men. Harsh, but it feels like that sometimes. It does feel like that sometimes. D7 Ben White. Cleaner Gathering replied with highly. Our attack is in trouble with Eddie. We don't have one. Hope you're well. Savage. Crispy saying, I really want him to succeed, but he's going to have to show me a spark. Absolutely, yeah, that's arguably the Man City assist is a spark. Is it a spark? I do think he has started playing better since he's been coming off the bench as a substitute. Maybe that's just because there's less pressure on him, you know, and he's less talked about like before a match and stuff. I do know as well, like I was reading an interview he did like quite early on into his time here at Arsenal saying that like he's kind of used to the criticism, like it doesn't really get to him too much, like he knows it will happen. Arteta's like got his arm around him, like supporting him, which is great. Leads me to think that like I don't even know. At least Arteta's like supporting him with all the negativity, but if you've brought in a player that you know is going to get a ton of negativity and hate, and he's kind of, the worst thing is he's not even performing worse than we anticipated. It's just exactly what you would expect. When we heard that this is just what we were saying would probably happen, like bar a miracle, like he's not in form, he's not very effective, he misses chances. It's just exactly what, at the moment, it's what we thought. Like if you'd have asked me 3 months ago, how do you think it would go if we had Havertz for 8 games? I'd have probably like described this. Just like fan backlash, not very effective, not very good, not really fitting into the team. It was just so predictable. So people who don't know, the Nketiah thing is partly Gooner Gathering's gimmick to wind up Posh Bertie. Yes, there is great wind-upping around Eddie Nketiah on Gooner Gathering, so do subscribe if you're not subscribed already. D7 saying Kai has played up top as a false 9 for about 120 minutes or so, and honestly I like that for him. He actually occupies the opposition's centre-backs and links up better than Eddie any day. That's quite scathing on Eddie, saying Kai Havertz links up better. But I was looking at a few of the stats and stuff, and he does have quite accurate passing and does lots of passes and stuff. It's just kind of like he's okay. He's better up there. I do agree. He is better up there, but still nowhere near the involvement that you see from like Gabriel Jesus and players like that. I can see it working better if he is that target man, but then we saw that at Chelsea for 3 years, and it's a huge like brain ache, and I don't know why Arteta's done it to himself. Taylor said, Arsenal Manic, that's where we will get the most money this coming summer if we sell Eddie. Or both, I don't care, they're just passengers in the team. Arsenal Manic saying, dude, he's on a huge salary, forget about settling in, confidence, see a toddler, do we need toddler sounds? Good point. I'm being too soft there. D7 saying, I'd use him as a backup striker this season and rest Jesus for certain games, especially against bottom 10 teams or so. That's actually a really good idea. I hope Arteta's reading that. So less pressure games and so perhaps he's feeling a bit less, like the pressure's all on him, and maybe when we're playing a more attacking, free-flowing, more comfortable game, although no games in the Prem are that comfortable, let's be honest, apart from maybe the bottom few teams this season. And then able to rest Jesus, because we know that Jesus is also very injury prone. So you're right, maybe a really good rotational striker. But then I'm not sure what Eddie would have to say about that. But either way, when Jesus is injured, we're kind of screwed if we've just got Eddie or Havertz up front. Sorry, don't come for me. Unless they prove me wrong. All of these things I say, my opinions, prove me wrong and I'll be your biggest fan, you know? So Kai did well. Thus Man City, says Gooner Gathering. I can't keep up. There's so many comments. Fran, I think I can tell you having a great week. Don't need to go into detail. Oh, but the way you laughing tells me everything is good or great still. I've actually had like not even a great week, but like today I'm just really enjoying this stream. Partly because like there's so many comments and stuff and you guys are all so yeah, no thank you. I'm just really enjoying this stream. Like I was feeling so grim before this and like dreading the stream because I get all anxious, but I'm really having fun. 101 on Arsenal, Apollo, coolest name out there. Happy Sunday, Fran. Happy Sunday to you too. It is a happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to everybody. Arsenal Manic still going. Fran, if you went to your dentist for filling and he or she kept botching it up, would you continue visiting the same dentist or would you find one that could do their job? Eddie and Nketiah. That's a very good analogy, very good example. Am I even going to argue? Yeah. Even if they were a really nice dentist, that's the thing. I get sold down the river. Like if they like say one funny thing or something, I'm like, oh, they're such a nice person. That is my problem. You guys know it. Jez knows this. So I'm working on it. But if they ruined my teeth, then I'd want them out. Fran, please on Static can't bear just seeing Havertz. 101 on Arsenal. Right, I listened to what this guy has to say because he knows his stuff. So Eddie is productive even when he's not scoring. Jesus went 10 games without scoring and nobody said a thing. Then Eddie scored 4 in 9. The season before that, Lacazette scored 2 outfield goals. That is the thing. Like when Jesus has been out, I kind of sometimes feel a bit for Eddie. I don't really know where I sit on the Eddie thing. I've come across quite negative today, but when he has had his starts, not this season though, I think this season he hasn't really, when he started, scored. Has he scored 2 this season or something? Might be 1. I'd have to look at the stats. But this season he has got the starts, it's felt like, and he hasn't done that. But I know definitely last season when Jesus got injured, he came in and he scored like a hat-trick in one game, didn't he? He was scoring. I think it's just like he's not very consistent. You don't put him on and think like he's definitely going to get chances and score today. I think he's just too inconsistent. Maybe that's the problem with him. When we were battling for top 4, Lacazette was dropped and Eddie came in and scored 5 goals in our last 8 games with 2 Man of the Match awards. That's a really good point. That I do remember that. But then has he really like rocketed on since then? And like, I think he's just the same level since then. And is it like good enough? We'll have to talk about it. Maybe you should do a stream on Eddie and Nketiah 101 and Arsenal, and I will want to listen. You could have you and Gooner Gathering versus Jez and who else? Who else is not a fan? Static or Arsenal Manic. It's very odd, very odd. BX, this is your first comment, I think. BX just chimed in saying, trying to convince yourself that Eddie is good enough is a losing battle. Savage. What put me off him, I think, is thinking that he might be that D-Day rapper. But anyway, moving on. So, right, 101 says, in 8 games this season, Eddie has 2 goals and won 2 penalties. That's a hand in 4 goals in 8 games. Scored 15 goals and 18 starts at the Emirates Stadium. That's actually crazy stats. And I don't doubt for a second that they're not accurate, because the 101 on Arsenal, he does like the most surprising, like true stats. So what do you Eddie critics have to say about that? Because that's pretty mad. So in 8 games this season, Eddie has 2 goals and won 2 penalties, which is true. That's a hand in 4 goals in 8 games. And he's 23, or is he 24? I think he might be 24. Scored 15 goals in 18 starts at the Emirates. That's really good numbers. So right, I don't know how we managed to get onto that. I had a couple of half-hearted stats because I don't really fancy doing stats today. But if any of you want to have a look at them, that's Kai Havertz's stats. Pause it and look back on it. My brain can't handle stats right now. Apart from at the bottom, the main ones, we've had 1 goal and 1 assist, basically. But we will move on to Deckers. Not much I can really say to criticise Deckers. Again, the most important thing, I think, was what we discussed last stream, where Declan said to Rio Ferdinand. So Rio texted him saying, no one's talking about the price tag, about you, Declan, mate, that's credit to you. And he said, come on, Rio, I've been doing this since West Ham. It's just people haven't noticed. And yeah, I think it's just the fact that I think it's just proved to be such a good signing, and he has carried on doing what he was doing for West Ham. But it's just perhaps me, definitely, I hadn't noticed how good he is. He's so good at knowing where a threat's going to be and showing up out of nowhere. Suddenly, oh, their attack's dead. Declan Rice has killed it. He just comes in out of nowhere. And I'm just so happy. So happy that we have him. Is he going to be a backup? I'm still not totally sure where he's meant to play. Is he a backup for Partey in that defensive midfielder role? Or are we going to try and mould him into more of a box-to-box? Which would be nice, but then that makes me think, if Partey gets injured, are our backups for Partey good enough? I don't know. So 101 and Arsenal saying, where would we be without Declan Rice? Chelsea away is going to be a big test. Could be the first game where we see Rice, Partey and Odegaard in the midfield. You're right about Chelsea away going to be a big test. We cannot take that one lightly. They're starting to click, which I predicted they would, to be fair. I was telling Chelsea fans, your team is too good not to click. So you heard it here first. Could be the first game that we see Rice, Partey and Odegaard in the midfield. Do you mean, didn't we see that? Didn't we see that at the end of Man City? Or am I making that up? But definitely starting, that is just the killer midfield. Any tough games, I want to see that midfield. And if we can rest Partey and stick Rice maybe in the defensive role with Kai Havertz or a Vieira or something like that in the easier games, that would be amazing. And basically just bring that in for triple threat in really difficult games. That would be awesome. So yeah, really good point. Rice, what a signing, fantastic. He must start every week with Partey. I don't want that though, because Partey will get injured. So if we can rotate and save that for the really big games. Phil saying the Rice statue has already been built, just waiting for the big moment to stick outside the Emirates. Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it? And if he can get a little bit more involved in the attacking play, then we're laughing. We're actually laughing. His passing is so good as well. I think I've got a couple of his stats. Nope, I don't have the passing stats. However, you can see 10 clearances is mega. Blocks, interceptions. He's just really good at all of it. He started all 8 games in the Prem, 665 minutes. He did get a little injury, didn't he? So hopefully he doesn't play. I don't think he played for England against Australia. Hopefully he gets a bit of a break at the England camp and he can be fully fit. But Static saying, Fran, to win every game, you've got to play your strongest team. You disagree. If Partey's carrying any injuries, then yes, rest him. I actually, I don't know. I kind of subscribe to the squad thing like Pep does, where barely ever he starts the same 11. Because last season, this is what we did. We played the strongest team every game last season when we could. And our players just collapsed by the end of the season. That's why we bottled it so hard. I want them still to have something in their legs by the end of the season. So perhaps play your strongest team for part of every game, but then sub off and rotate. That's really what I want to see. I want to have longevity this season, which means not your best players are playing every single game, But it's a good debate. It's a good debate. Arsenal Manic, still on Eddie, saying if you're not scoring 20 plus at Arsenal as one of the main strikers, what's the point? For me, 20 goals is the minimum threshold. Really good point. And 101 replied with, the fans said the same thing about Giroud not scoring 20 goals. So we sold him and he went on to win just about everything. Shows how much that means. It's a really, really good point. Really good point. Yeah, really interesting. Marley Hotspur, big up to my favourite Gooner, big up to my favourite Hotspur channel. I'm annoyed that you're at the top of the league. But you know how it is. Anyway, so I can't really say enough good things about Declan Rice. I'm really excited to see how he progresses, whether he gets a bit more attacking stuff into his game. But what a signing. When I was talking about whether our summer signings are good enough, this one certainly is. Certainly is. And I'm so happy he's here. Can't wait. It's all good news. All good news. David Raya, the final signing of the summer, I think. We only signed 3, I think, if I'm not forgetting anyone. Managed to get him on, I think we paid, 3 million or something around there, and managed to get him on loan with the option to buy, or pretty much obligation. I can't remember. You guys told me last time whether there was option or obligation. And let's just quickly touch on it, because I know this topic has been covered to death. And my thoughts on it was that I didn't think that we needed to upgrade on Ramsdale. I think we arguably yes, but I don't think I think there were more important things to focus on in the transfer window. For example, a backup to Saka was what I really wanted, and perhaps someone else for the front 3. I'm always hoping for that big name striker. Sorry Eddie. Sorry 101 Arsenal. So Jez, can you please? So Jez just commented something interesting, saying, why do people call themselves Gooners when they don't know what it means? And genuinely, I really want to know, because people keep saying that. So can you please let me know and let us know what it does mean? So Connor saying, what's up, Fran? Hope you're well. Big up to everyone in the chat. Yes, we've got the whole squad here today on this lovely Sunday afternoon where there is no Premier League football, but it's quite nice. I've enjoyed taking a step back and taking stock, looking where Arsenal are, where we're going, what's coming up. And if you missed it, we looked at the fixtures coming up and the points we expect from there. We've spoken about Havertz, which ended up being a conversation mainly about Eddie. We touched on how amazing Declan Rice is. Now we're talking a little bit about David Raya. And I think the basics of David Raya is clearly he's first choice now. All that stuff Arteta said when he first got him was just to soften the blow. I think he's always been the keeper that he wants. And with our goalkeeping coach coming from Brentford and obviously strongly bigging up David Raya, I think that's been the keeper that they've wanted for a while. He seems to trust him more to do things like come up and play as part of the back line of defence and perhaps hold on to the ball a bit longer, as we saw, and do shorter little passes and things. Perhaps maybe a bit less flappable than Ramsdale. And he did outperform Ramsdale in all of the goalkeeping stats last season. So, however, stats don't, for me, encompass things that are unmeasurable, like the players' impact on the team, personality-wise, group vibes-wise. And Raya to me definitely seems at the moment a lot more of a professional, very calm, not as emotional as Ramsdale. And the stats don't show, I think, how important Ramsdale was last season for the morale of the defence and the togetherness of the defence and the crowd and all that energy. I felt so much of our team spirit came from Ramsdale. And I think that's why the Raya-Ramsdale thing is so contentious. Yes, Raya has had the better stats last season, but are you removing a huge part of what made the backline so together and dynamic? And I'm sure it will come. They're just not as familiar with Raya. There certainly were miscommunications at the beginning where Raya cleared it all the way out over to Tomiyasu, and then I can't remember which team we were playing. I think it was Spurs. They came back and equalised. So, or it might have been Lons. But yeah, better stats, but Ramsdale definitely seems to like fit the team in terms, and the crowd love him, and like, you know, all those non-measurable things. Like Ramsdale's definitely the favourite for. But maybe Arteta wanted a bit less emotion from the back line, and he wants it more calm and clinical and like almost robotic, a bit like Pep does. So that's kind of the issues for me and why I feel a bit confused. Oh, 101 on Arsenal. So I'm still listening to you, Fran. I'm in the car driving. That's really kind of you to still listen to me. Thank you. I listened to you the other day too. I love this guy. Drive safe though. Don't type and drive. Arsenal Manic, you're still going on about the Eddie thing. I'm just going to have to do a whole stream about Eddie with you, and you can just like... So can you imagine Real Madrid fans saying Benzema, he doesn't score goals, but oh boy, he was involved in the build-up of 5 goals and he won 3 pens? Yeah, really good point. Really good point. And keep it coming. Keep it coming. Malhai Hotspur saying top goalkeeper right, it's only a matter of time till Madrid come for him. Yeah, I hope not. He's ours now, so stay away, Madrid. But cool to hear that from a Spurs fan. So you really rate him. Phil saying, I'd love to know where Rami's head is right now. I can imagine he's just quietly working really hard and trying to get his place back, you know? But it's hard not to feel like put out. So Austin Wannick saying, Gooners has no relation to the movie Goonies. People don't get it twisted. Okay. Jordan, big up. So Static saying, Fran, it's Gunners. If away fans say Gooners, then so be it. The Gunners is our nickname. As Arsenal fans, we should be proud to call ourselves Gunners, not the opposite. Yeah. I agree. Okay. Jez is actually telling us what Gooners, where that originates from. So we're learning. Thank you so much, Jez. I've been like so confused. So a Gooner was an Arsenal hooligan who was a member of the Herd or the North Bank Elite, the Arsenal firms from back years ago. No one would dare call themselves that if you were in the firms. Okay, so it was kind of like a gang of like elites or like hooligans type thing, and that was their name. Oh, that's really interesting. So maybe we should just call ourselves Gunners then. I don't know, but that's really interesting. Thank you very much, Jez. I assume Gunners was for players and fans. Oh, right. So no one would dare call themselves that if they were not actually one. Right. Yeah, now it's just kind of been adopted more as like a general name for a fan. But that's really interesting to know those origins. Jez, as always, is the knowledge. And if you guys did not know, if you've been living under a rock, then Jez, Arsenal the History More, knows everything there is to know about Arsenal. Always is educating me and the more like recent fans on the history and where words like Gooners come from, and he's just amazing. So facts, Jez, people are saying, and exactly, basically it's a very bad word, avoid at all costs. Okay. I will actually make a note and try and do that. So anyway, any thoughts on David Raya, or shall we move on? So anyway, yeah, we'll move on. So 23 likes, hit the like and subscribe. Yes, thank you so much. We're trying to get to 45 again. That would be awesome. But no worries if not. And thank you very much for joining me. I'm really enjoying this. I've really missed the football. I've missed talking about football. And this just feels like filling a little bit of the void, the gap in my life. So I'm going to keep going. Hopefully you want to stay with me because we've got some more interesting things to talk about. The next big talking point is Phil is Rami's a Ramsdalian, and he's not a fan of Raya. I think Raya is a really good goalkeeper. I just feel a hint of is it the right thing because Ramsdale is so beloved and such a key member of the defence, but hopefully it will turn out for the best, and we've got a really clinical goalkeeper, and hopefully also Ramsdale will learn from a keeper like Raya, who's a bit more calm and clinical, supposedly, and in that way really up his game. Lottie, so keep it up, Fran. Awesome stuff. Thank you. I needed that. I was only meant to go on for an hour, and it's already an hour. Okay. Right. So my next question for you all, the thing that I've been wanting to talk about, what I'm a bit annoyed about, is squad players like Trossard, Nelson, and ESR. We're seeing rotation, but for me, I'm not seeing enough rotation of these players. And that was what annoyed me so much last season, because when eventually we did need, although Trossard I won't count in this, but Nelson, ESR, and Fabio Vieira, when we actually needed to rely on these players due to injuries and overplaying the first 11 last season, when we brought them on, they'd had so few minutes of game time that they just looked completely off the pace. So for me, I think even if you don't think that player is playing very well at the moment, you need to rotate them, especially in the second half, get them the minutes, because how are they supposed to play themselves into form? And you need them, remember? We've got so many games. We're in the Champions League, we're in the League Cup, we're in... Sorry, Phil, I just saw a really nice comment. It said, I showed someone my Fran Arsenal mug today. He reckons Arsenal don't like you because your artwork is better than anything they do. That would be nice if I knew that. That would be nice. So for me, I'm just worried about these players, Nelson and ESR, especially. Trossard is kind of going in that direction. When they're out of favour, they just barely seem to get any minutes. And then, as I say, it comes to a point in the season where you may need to use these players if some of your more higher in the pecking order players get injured, which we saw a lot last season, and is actually partly due to the fact that there wasn't much rotation, especially in the second half and things. It's better this season. But when we need these players, they're not going to be fresh. They're not going to have the minutes in the legs. However, having said that, we are going to be playing a lot of games. So there's the Champions League, League Cup, then there's going to be the FA Cup, Prem, obviously. So I'm hoping, we did see the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. We did see ESR, for example, playing in that. And I'm hoping as we continue in that competition, we'll see a bit more of these kind of outcast players, being in the squad. So what do you guys think? Personally, I think Trossard's it's a difficult one with Trossard, but I personally think he's one of those players that needs to start. Like when he had that run of starting games after January last season, and was just like immense for us. I think he looks a little bit frustrated, a little bit downbeat, and he's only coming on for little portions of games or starting a game, then coming off at half time. I know he's injured at the moment, so perhaps he's been playing with a bit of an injury. However, I tend to think, how do you expect these players to come on and impress when you're not giving them any minutes? They're coming in straight out of the blue. It's difficult for me at the moment. I'd really like to see Nelson, ESR. Nelson must also feel really annoyed that Saka's come injured. You know, you'd think that would be for Saka and Martinelli, both wingers injured. You'd think like there must be a start for me here somewhere, and instead it's Jesus being played out wide with, I can't remember with Trossard. You know, so I just don't like Arteta's thing of like just not giving them a chance. Like Balogun, I've decided you're not part of this squad. I'm just not going to give you a chance. I think that's really unfair. And I don't know if perhaps ESR, Nelson, we're hearing talks that ESR is going to be sold, or like, is it just you're not in my favour? I'm not even going to give you a chance to prove me wrong. Like on a match day, training's different. Jez said, for your info, the herd was run by two top boys who were Sheepskin Steve and Hendon Josh. Wow. I still meet them and have a drink with them to this day. That's amazing. I've been trying in the international break to like, it's so hard when I wasn't there, but like watch more videos about like the history of Arsenal, try and learn about all that stuff. That's so cool. I can't imagine, it must have been so different. Taylor said, Trossard was great off the bench last season, but now every player needs to step up from the start of the game when called upon. We don't need passengers this season. You're right, to be fair. You're right, it is on the players. And Trossard has not really played well this season. I'm probably biased because I really like him, but you're right. It's more on the players needing to step up. I can't put everything on the manager. The players have to play well. So you're right there. You're right. Thank you for that comment. Static saying Nelson only has himself to blame. Fran, it serves him right. He had a chance to leave, but was very selfish. Signed a new contract when his contract expired. Yeah, but you don't know what he was told. Was he told he was going to get more minutes or something? I don't know. Either way, this is just something I'm going to keep an eye on. I want to see a bit more rotation with these fringy players like Vieira. Haven't seen him for a while. I was happy that we got rid of quite a few of these like fringe players. However, I am going to say I want ESR going nowhere. ESR is like the main one where I give him a chance. Give him a chance. Anyway, on to the next talking point. I thought you guys would like this. Crispy saying now for me, Balogun wasn't willing to fight it out. But I saw an interview saying that it was basically out of his hands. That's what he said like recently, that the decision was just made and like they needed the money for him. But I don't know. I'll have to like look into it. Phil saying it's weird that Trossard has become a super sub. I reckon he can walk into most teams. Yeah. It is weird. I think he definitely has. I remember a quote of him saying like, I came in to be a starter, I didn't come in to be a sub, or something like that. And I think he's really dropped off since leaving Brighton and coming here. I feel like he's just got worse and worse. I think that's just because he's not like being started. That's for me though, but who knows? Anyway, so having spoken about these things, our last talking point before we go into a Q&A is, with all this in mind, what do Arsenal need to do this season for you? I just want your opinions. Everyone will sit a little differently on this, but what do I mean by what do they need to do? So basically, if they don't achieve this, then you're going to have a meltdown type thing. That's probably it for me. I don't think I would want. It's not whether I want like Arteta out, because I think we'll have to see. We'll get into it. This should be contentious. But I thought it was quite a funny picture. I can't believe this is real. It looks photoshopped. I don't know if you saw this. It was like for GQ magazine, and he's just wearing like weird clothes and stuff. But everyone was saying like, "Oh my god, he's so stylish." I just think he looks ridiculous. So for those listening, it's Arteta on the front of GQ magazine wearing like a stripy top, and it's just anyway. So, right, my opinion. I'm going to stick with what I said at the end of last season, which is that we absolutely like pooped the bed last season when we should have won the title. We had it in our hands. For me, I remember saying next season we've got to do one better and we've got to win it. If that doesn't happen, then I'm not going to say that I'm going to be Arteta out, because I can't promise that. It really does, like, it depends on how that happens. If it's a case that we've like screwed it up again, then yeah, something needs to change, because he will have been here for 5 years. So for me, we must win the Prem. That's what I said last season, and I don't want to lower my expectations from that based on like, oh, we didn't do enough in the transfer window. For me, like, if we didn't do enough in the transfer window, then that's part of the problem. Because so for me, we've got to win the Prem. I think Arteta's making the adjustments necessary to be able to do that, to have more like nuance in the team, a bit more adaptable. However, hopefully I'm not just like backing all this for nothing. I'm hoping it's not how it can appear to be, where it's literally just quite a chaotic, like unsettled team, because that's what it looks like. But I'm kind of I'm explaining it away as like, okay, I think I can see what he's doing here, and it's going to be like a more versatile team with kind of a few different formations and more rotation, things like that. But we still need to win the league. I think we must win the league. That's where I am. I've got to stick with what I said last season. I can't change where I was right at the end of last season after we bottled it. I said, like, right, we need a big summer and we actually need to win the league if we want to see that the owners are properly serious about this, which in part I think they are, because they've properly backed Arteta. So now it's on Arteta. We've got to win the league. That's what I think. In terms of Champions League semi-finals, I'd like to see us get to. And I want us to win definitely the Carabao Cup because Manchester City have gone out, and that competition is really good to win because it comes quite early in the season, and Pep's always gone for it. It sets the team in a really good mentality to win it, and let's do that. So for me, it's win the league, Champions League semi-finals, and win one of the domestic trophies. So let me see a couple of what you're saying. So I'll just put in the comments so you guys know I'm accountable. For me, it's win the Prem, win the dog, semi-finals UCL, but I could probably take quarterfinals if we win the Prem, you know. Win a domestic. That's it for me. So let me know what will be acceptable for you this season. However, I haven't quite decided what that means for me if that doesn't happen. Will that mean Arteta out? For me, no. For me, no. For me, no. That's kind of a different conversation. I don't know. Static says you agree, and if we don't win it, Arteta must go. Yeah, that's kind of the question, really. I don't think he will go there. I think like this club loves him and stuff, but at least it'll be like uproar, because I understand there's next year, we can do it next year, but I think with things going on in my life, like at the moment, my grandpa was a huge football fan. Like, it's okay saying there's going to be next year, but every year fans that have waited and waited and waited for us to win the Prem again, they like pass away. They don't make it. There's not unlimited time to win these trophies and things. It's not a case of like, oh, we can wait another 20 years. No, people won't be here. Lifelong fans won't be here. People who spent their whole lives visiting the grounds and supporting the team, it will be too late. So I don't think the club can afford to play with time. Time is such an important thing and it passes so quickly. And we can't just say, oh, maybe next year. Maybe next year. It's got to be now. So, yeah. Hugo, hello. Saying title push better than last year's. FA Cup and quarterfinals or better in the Champions League. Yeah, that's I see. I've got to say title because that's what I said at the end of last season. But title push could be acceptable if we're pushing them like to the last day. But simply put, if we win every game for the rest of the season, then we have won the league. Okay, so I know it's super early days, but like, no, actually, that's such a dumb comment. I'm not even going to say that. Basically, we must. We're at 24 likes. I'm not saying win the treble. I said semi-finals Champions League, win the Prem and win a domestic, even if it's like the League Cup or something. I just think that's kind of the logical next step from where we were last year. And last year, although I don't know, last year we did so badly in the cups as well. So I would definitely want to see us win a domestic cup. Yeah, Taylor's saying, Fran, saying semi-finals of the Champions League. Are you expecting this squad in its first season in the Champions League to reach the semis? I think we should be able to. I do, because we came runners-up in... Although... Okay, so my argument is we came runners-up in the Premier League. Premier League, arguably the best in the world. In terms of like comparison, you'd think then that would give us a good chance in Europe. However, we know that I think what you're kind of talking about, the reality of playing in Europe, there are so many factors that are not about just how well you did in your domestic league. It's about your experience in Europe, your ability to deal with like the mad crowds and stuff. It's not just on your footballing ability, because then City would have won it the last 5 years. So perhaps I am being a bit harsh saying we need to go to the semi-finals. But I mean, in terms of like our objective quality, then we should be able to, I think. But we know that things in Europe often don't go in the favour of like the better team. So it is, yeah, maybe that is a bit harsh, to be fair. And Hugo says again, it's a whole other animal, not as easy as it sounds after being out of it for 8 years. Yeah, you're right. But I do think like we can go really far in it. And what gives me that hope is actually that performance against Man City. And I think we can replicate that performance in the Champions League and do really well. For me, that was like a competition performance where you're really parking the bus, making sure you don't concede and then nick the game. If we can play like that, then we can go really far in the Champions League, I think. Like, I know it's boring, like boring Chelsea-style football, but it does well in competitions. Arsenal Manic said, if you're 35 plus, maybe say 40 and an Arsenal fan, you're sick and tired of maybe next year, believe me. Yeah, I'm sick and tired of it, and I've only been supporting for like 5-6 years. Yes, the women's team came back and won 2-1 last time I looked just before this stream. They were 1-0 down and came back with 2 amazing goals, so it was fantastic. Yeah, so done really well. Arsenal Manning saying that photo is disturbing. I'm eating for goodness sake. What are you having? I'm intrigued. Taylor said, I think the squad is good, but people just assume that just because we're good in the Premier League doesn't mean we've got the mentality to go all the way. It's up for debate how the squad will cope away in the UCL. Yeah, it is kind of an unanswered question, and maybe I'm jumping the gun with the Champions League, but we got to have high standards, you know? So anyway, talking points. Talking point number 5, basically it's a bit more of a free-for-all. What do you guys want to talk about? If you've got any questions, stick them in the chat. I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes or so because I want to see if I can catch the end of the rugby. I think England men are playing now in the quarterfinals, if I remember rightly. So yeah, well done to the women's team, especially. Huge well done. It was really nice that they can play on a day where the men aren't playing. So obviously there's more eyes on them. Really great for them. Really happy. So Phil said, having been a fan since late 70s, I appreciate the small margins in winning or coming second, but we're in the best place for 20 years to win. Exactly. I feel like we preemptively say like, oh, but we might not win because of like, and we're afraid to say we should win because we don't want to be disappointed or get egg on our face at the end. But you're right. We are. And you've been there and you're saying we're in the best place for 20 years to win. 26 likes, thank you. Oh, we're slacking on the likes. The target is 45. Please. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's only a guide and it's just a joke, really. So any questions? I know Phil left a couple earlier. So Phil's question was, do you agree that we still have to see the best of Partey for a long enough period? I do actually agree. I think not knocking his talent at all, but just too often he's out for a number of weeks, normally at really crucial times in the season. But I don't think that that's going to get better. He's only getting older, you know, and someone injury prone just suddenly doesn't become injury prone. So I think Arsenal have done a really good thing by bringing in Declan Rice, who can back up that position. But is Declan Rice going to be back up for Partey, or is he meant to be playing the box to box kind of thing? But I do agree that the Partey injury issues are it's just as soon as you know it's so bad. He's just not reliable enough, and it's a shame because he's so good. But maybe he could be played in a different way. So maybe coming on just for like the final 30 minutes of a match. I just don't think we can expect him to be part of the starting 11, starting games in and out. You've got to manage him because you know he's injury prone. So maybe if we can see the best out of him playing for parts of games, I'd be really happy, and that's sustainable. But I just don't think he's good enough to be a starting player in terms of his injury record. So Niall also asked, will you be watching Spain versus Norway tonight? Yeah, maybe I will actually. Although I'm going for a movie night with Lottie and my best friend Georgia. So I might not be able to, but I'll probably stick it on my laptop while we're watching a movie. So yes, any more questions? I'll answer them and then I got to go. So Hugo, you reckon we have a better shot this year at the title, in my opinion. I was doubting that at the beginning of the season, but now I think I'm kind of seeing what Arteta's trying to do, which I kind of spoke about at the beginning of the stream. So I think you might be right. And I just don't think we can already say like, oh, it's okay if we don't win the title. Some people are said at the beginning of the season, like, my expectations are top 4. How have you gone from nearly winning the title last season to now it's like, oh, Liverpool are a bit better, Spurs are looking better, top 4. No, title. So a question from Static saying, I assume it's football and art questions only. Yeah, you can ask personal questions, I suppose. But, if you're interested in anything in my life, then go for it. So art question: who's my idol for art? I'll show you. He makes I don't know actually. So at the moment, my favorite artist is. I'll show you. I love Monet as well, and Van Gogh. I love Van Gogh. But this guy is awesome. I'll just show you quick. This guy's art is awesome. Check this out. Look, so he makes like super realistic ocean paintings. So he's called Dmitry Serenko, and I just love it. I'd love to do like seaside art of my own, but he does amazing. I love how the waves and things like convey such emotion. I just love any artist where I look at it and I feel something, you know? So that's that. For football, who is my favourite opposition player? Is that just in the Prem or like worldwide? Let me just cover up. I always have to cover up the viewers because or else I just like get stressed out watching the numbers go up and down. Yeah, Van Gogh, I love because he really struggled obviously like with his mental health and stuff, and so do I. And the way he like conveyed that through his painting is just amazing. Thank you for the art question. I love art questions. So who's my favorite opposition player? You said any league, men and women too. Let me know yours as well. There are a few that are like shit houses that I really like. Like they're not even like. Okay, so we're not saying like who I think the best one is, but okay, my favorite one then. I wish Rene was here, but my favorite one is oh yeah, my favorite one. Yeah, no too personal questions. You know how it is. So my favorite one is Jamie Vardy. That guy cracks me up. I just think he's so funny. So I don't know if you've seen like his celebrations against Crystal Palace and stuff. He's just the biggest wind-up merchant. Crystal Palace, Jamie. I just love that guy. I'm so sad they're not in the Prem, right? Like, so he does this stupid. I just think he's class. So he just, I love that guy. Where's my screen share? Right. Hold up. So I'll show you. Share screen. So when he scores against Palace, he does like he pretends to be an eagle and stuff, and he like sinks 5 Red Bulls before coming on. He's just such a little wind up, and I just think he's funny. He's just funny. But there are a few others. I just can't think of them right now. But yeah, Jamie Vardy cracks me up. I'll have to have a look at Maxfield Parish. Okay, a couple more questions. Favorite movie? It's so difficult. Okay, today, like it might be a different one tomorrow, but I love the film adaptation of Jonathan Larson's Rent, like the musical about New York in the 90s. Rent is amazing. So, great musical. But it's not like a normal musical, it's so good. If you've seen it, then you know. So, who's my all-time favourite striker? And which striker would you bring back to this team from the Invincibles? This is really hard because I didn't get to watch the Invincibles. I'm still playing catch up and like trying to watch the older teaser stuff. But all-time favourite striker. How do you document? Thing is, yeah, my mind automatically goes to like Messi and Ronaldo, but they're not like out and out strikers, are they? I'm getting more like you guys. Let me know. I would say Ronaldo. I really like Ronaldo. I just think, yeah, such an inspiration in like how long he was able to play the game for, like his self-belief and stuff. So if that counts, I will say Ronaldo. Arsenal Manic saying the most exquisite and decorated artist of all time is the bloke from Art Attack. No one comes close. No one comes close. Do you remember when he used to just come out with like, here's one I prepared earlier, and it was like a 6-hour like random like project? But I'm gonna have to go soon. Yes, I have done sculptures, like animal sculptures and things. Like I'll have to show you. Actually, if you look, you can see some of my old artwork. This is the non-football art. Cine Sketches on Instagram, and that's got, I think, like a couple of sculptures I've done in all my pet portraits and stuff. So if you're interested in that, I haven't seen that yet. The film Yesterday. Taylor, have you ever fancied Jamie Vardy? No, not my type. He's just funny. Bob Ross, I love Bob Ross. Yeah, he might be up there with favourite artists. I just love the guy. Do I have another team that I follow in other leagues? Yes, Valencia. So I grew up in Spain, Valencia. I don't follow them too closely, but I remember on match days, the city and people sing like Valencia. So I grew up there. Valencia is like my other team, if you think about it. So opposition idol crush, Shearer, Rembrandt, yes, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Oh, kind of just saying something. I watched a great movie on Netflix called The Guilty. How Jake Gyllenhaal hasn't received an Oscar yet as Criminal. Lol. Yes, I love him. I haven't seen The Guilty though, but I love Jake Gyllenhaal. I can't believe he hasn't. I think maybe because he does like weird films, like not like super mainstream films, but I think he's amazing. He's like my weird celebrity crush. Like he's so hot. Anyway, did you see my comment about men and women? Okay, yeah, my favorite women's. Oh no. Yeah, I don't know too much about the women's league. I'm still like learning my way into it, like getting into it. I'm a bit behind. But I think she still plays for our team, but Vivian Miedema, because I drew her and then she like commented on it and stuff, so I really like her. But anyway, I am going to go. Phil's saying fabulous pod as always, Fran. Thanks for perking up my very quiet Sunday. Nice city, Valencia. See. It is a good city. Anyway, this stream has ground to a tired halt, and I need to go and watch some telly and chill out. And I hope you guys have a really good rest of the Sunday. Hopefully this has quenched your thirst for football content. It has mine. Now I'm ready to just go and relax. So I hope you all have a relaxing evening. Have a nice bath. Do something nice before the work week. Enjoy your Sundays, everyone. Bellingham, good point. Peace out. So good to see you, Connor. Looking forward to that stream later, guys. TJ's got a massive stream later with Connor, and I think Lee Gunner's getting on there, and Flawless. Just massive. I think it's on at like 8 or something, but you have to have a look. So go and check out TJ's stream later. Subscribe to Community Gathering. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We only got to 27 likes today. Next time we'll get to 45. Last time we got to 45, so we'll try again. Thank you so much for the support on the channel as always. Please do check out golartzo.com. I've lowered the price of the clothing on there because people were saying it was a bit high. So do check it out. And thank you so much for joining me. We'll do a preview stream for Chelsea and a couple of other bits throughout the week. So I'll see you soon. Okay. Oh no, Connor. Oh no, I was invited on it. I've got movie night tonight. No. Okay. I'll check it though. All right. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm so bad at checking my messages. Anyway, peace out, everyone. Have a great Sunday. And thank you for the support, as always. Come on, you guys.